Welcome to another edition of the Official Jets Podcast, powered by Amazon Web Services. Ethan Greenberg, Eric Allen here in the BetMGM studio. Today's episode, we have Pierre Desir in the house, who's one of the more unique stories of the NFL when you look at his track. And I know EA mentioned that to him in the interview. And Pierre Desir is just a good dude. I mean, we've only met him virtually, but...
Yeah, we haven't met him.
We haven't technically met him in person, but
he seems like a lovely dude, down to earth. Like you said, his journey, his trek to the New York Jets is really something. We only had an opportunity to speak to him maybe like 10, 12 minutes, but what is very impressive about him and many young guys in the National Football League, it doesn't receive a lot of headlines, but he has taken his platform and went out and helped the various communities that he has somehow touched throughout his life. So you got to give him a lot of props.
Actually, right around the time he was released, he donated 20,000 meals to St. Louis. And I think that Pierre Desir, one of the more unique things about him, you read all the articles online about what he's done in the community and, of course, what he's done on the field, but he's a Broadway lover. And that was one of the things he said to me after he signed. He said, look, one of the perks is that I'm really close to Broadway, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to see a show because obviously Broadway is shut down right now.
I didn't realize it until you just told me a moment ago that Broadway still is shut down. Yes, I knew it when the pandemic really struck this country in March and everything basically closed its doors, that Broadway was shut down. But now that we're back here in the office, sometimes I forget, because we're so football focused, that the pandemic is still impacting other entertainment venues like Broadway, and that is such a signature New York thing for people to do, is to participate and go out in the nightlife and watch the tremendous entertainment we have here. So unfortunately, Pierre's going to have to wait a little bit while longer, and hopefully we get a vaccine really soon.
I drove through Times Square earlier in the pandemic, and you could hear a pin drop. It was extremely weird.
Well, especially for a guy who grew up in Manhattan, I got to imagine that's wild.
Yeah, it's like something you couldn't really imagine. It almost looks kind of like out of a movie, what's the movie I'm thinking? I Am Legend. I mean, that's
Will Smith.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not comparing the plots here.
I did like I Am Legend because Will Smith did have his dog still. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. EA's a big dog.
A man and his dog. You know, something about it pulled me in.
All right. Well, let's hear from Pierre Desir about a number of things that include Broadway, his time on the field, his time with the Colts, and really just his entire path to the NFL. Now joined by Jets cornerback Pierre Desir. Pierre, thanks a lot for joining us here on the Official Jets Podcast.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you for having me.
So in our prior conversations throughout the virtual offseason, I've still yet to meet you in person, same with EA, but we've talked a lot about Broadway and your love of Broadway. So I know you must be extremely happy, or were extremely happy, when Hamilton dropped on Disney+.
Absolutely. I've seen it in person 3 times. Seen it on Disney Plus probably about 10 times. So I was very excited to see it that it was on TV.
What did you like so much about Hamilton?
I liked that it was like they incorporated hip hop. I just liked how they told the story. And you know, theater has always been a love of mine. And just seeing that hip hop and theater come together is just it was a beautiful thing.
Where did your love of theater start, and how old were you?
I would say my love of theater started in middle school, so I was probably 12 years old. I was in a couple of drama classes, and I just liked the way that you were able to express yourself, and you could be a different person, or you can just do all these type of things. And I just always had a love for that. Went to many plays in school. Never got involved. I was a little bit chicken, but I always appreciated the art.
So you never acted?
I never acted. I always wanted to. You know, maybe that's something I'll venture on, after my career.
Who are actors out there that you really enjoy? You talked about watching Hamilton, but whether it's on Broadway or the big screen and the movies, who are guys that you like watching?
Number one, no order, but Chadwick Boseman, definitely he had a lot of range. Denzel Washington, someone that I looked up to, was a great actor when I was younger. Um, I mean, Will Smith, any Will Smith movie, I just go see. Um, let's see. Yeah, there's so many great actors out there, and I just try to, just to see how they change from character to character. Samuel Jackson plays everything, but most of the time he plays very mad, but he has a lot of range as well. So yeah, there's many different actors that I look at, and I just always appreciate how well they can really reach out to the audience.
Pierre, did you know that fellow cornerback Bless Austin wants to be an actor after his football career?
No, no, no. I didn't know that. You see, we haven't had a time to really go out and venture out to go see a play. So I mean, once everything settled down and we can do that, definitely hit up Bless so we can go see one.
Are you a cut the cord guy, or do you have cable at home? And what are you into watching now?
Well, I'm into watching now whatever Netflix says is their top 10. So I try to watch whatever Netflix says. Game of Thrones is over with. Um, and so there's not really, that was like my binge watching show. I actually started picking up Grey's Anatomy, and I was like, might as well. There's a million seasons, might as well start watching that show. So I'm all over the place.
Pierre, I asked Bless Austin this question, and it involves him in acting, so I want to ask you the same thing. I said to Bless, if you could choose any actor to play yourself in a movie, who would you choose? He said he would choose Michael B. Jordan. So if somebody were to play Pierre Desir in a movie, who would you choose to play Pierre Desir?
Oh man, well, if it was like a biopic, I would have to start out like a young Michael B. Jordan is me in my youth, and Idris Elba when I'm a little bit older. Maybe a little bit Denzel when I get probably like 40s ish. So I mean, I have a list of guys that would play me as I go out throughout my life. I have a down pack. I kind of actually have who would play, but yeah, Michael B. Jordan definitely. Right now at my age.
Hey, let's trace you back all the way to your childhood in Haiti. How much do you remember that growing up? Because you were there until about 4, right? Do you remember anything a little bit when you were a little guy?
No, just very little. Just the stories, and I get a lot of it from the pictures that I've seen. When that happened, I'm moving from Haiti into America, so into the States. So I was just trying to really. Everything happened so fast, and we trying to pick up a new language. So it's all gets bottled up when I moved over there. But my parents tell me stories all the time, and that definitely helps fill in the gap.
Pierre, do you speak any French?
Creole, I speak a little bit. I speak enough to know someone's talking bad about me. So that definitely helps. And my mom, she tries her best. Because when you call her, you have to speak French to her first and foremost. So she definitely gets us back on that, trying to get back into Creole speaking.
How much have you had the opportunity to go back?
Unfortunately, I was supposed to go back in March. To go in March, but because of the situation. In college, in around 2010, I was going to go back, and then the earthquake happened. So, I'm looking forward to go back. I have so much family there, cousins, aunts, grandparents still live in Haiti. And so I'm just very excited to get the opportunity to go there and visit them.
Pierre, can you talk a little bit about earlier this offseason, you donated 20,000 meals to the St. Louis Food Bank. You're a really good dude, and for Jets fans that don't know that you are a good dude, I think they're going to think this is a great story. So can you just explain where your love of giving back to the community comes from and how you try to give back in many different ways?
My parents have always instilled a belief that, if you give back to someone in need, whether it's your time, money, that's going to help that person. It's going to help the next person. So for me, it's just what my parents have taught me, and being in the position that I am, I think that it's my duty to help others that are in need. And I try to do whatever I can and try to reach out to those in need, especially during the pandemic. And I know how important it was for kids to go to school and get those meals. So I just try to do whatever I can, reach out to whoever I need to, and just try to make a difference.
You were the Colts Peyton Manning. I'm sorry. You were the Colts Walter Payton Man of the Year. Can you talk about the programs you were involved in Indianapolis, and now coming here, like you mentioned, in the midst of a pandemic? What are some things that you're trying to establish here and maybe in the tri-state area?
Right now, I'm partnered with an organization that I've worked with in the past called Samaritan's Feet. And we're actually setting up a shoe distribution in October. And that organization is set out to help everyone who do not have shoes. Try to give everyone an opportunity to have that luxury to have a pair of shoes. That's an organization, Samaritan's Feet, that's close to my heart. I've done it in Indy, I've done it in St. Louis, and I'm excited to have a shoe distribution in the upcoming month.
What did it mean to you to have that honor bestowed upon you? Walter Payton, such a great football player, but he was so instrumental in what he did in the community.
That award for me, when I got nominated, it made me realize how important it was, that the community. I know a lot of times we get locked up in football, but that being able to show the community that we are there for them, even with our schedule. And I think that's very important. And I was just, very blessed and honored to be able to be, nominated. But it's always about the community. You want them to know, even though we're always, in our books and about football, that they do matter.
Pierre, we only have like 3 minutes with you. It's 3:21. You got meetings at 3:30. We're speaking to you before you go back to Indianapolis. So I'm just curious, how do you, the other day you said there's some type of way that you're feeling when you go up against Indianapolis, even though that's yet to happen, but how do you make sure that you don't let those emotions overcome and almost take over you?
For me, it's just making sure I know my job. I know that there's going to be guys on the sideline that's going to, say some things or chirp, but not to really let that, get to me. I know we're going in there for a win, and that's my main focus. And that's what I'm going to be worried about the most, is doing my job and making sure I can help the team.
What can you say about your journey, man? You grew up in Haiti, you came over here. You're got to be the only player in NFL history who went to Lindenwood and Washburn, then drafted, of course, in the 4th round, and you've played on a number of teams throughout your career. What can you say about the Pierre Desir track that you have lived so far?
I never doubted myself. I always believed in what I could do. I always kept faith, and I had great people that I surrounded myself with that kept me motivated. And I never took no for an answer. When adversity hit, I just kept going, kept pushing, and I wasn't going to let anyone tell me I was going to live out my dream. So I just kept going and persevered.
Where's that ball going? The first interception in green and white. You got that the other day. Where's that going to be?
Oh man, that's going to go in the man cave with all the jerseys and stuff that I have. And I have the jersey from the game, so I'm going to keep that and put it in a special place.
All right, last question for you. Describe Lindenwood in a single word or phrase.
Lindenwood, the best Division II school in the country.
All right. That's great. That's how we wrap up here, Pierre. Thanks a lot for joining us.
Thanks, Pierre.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
EA, are you a Broadway person?
I'm not against Broadway. I haven't been to a show in a long time.
Well,
a long time.
Okay.
I think the last show I saw was a musical, and God, I can't even remember. I can't even remember the name of it. I'm more of a play guy than musical.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's fair.
How about you?
I took theater in high school because my options were theater or second science, and I didn't want to do a second science.
That's what you told Pierre, yeah.
So
I was listening.
Yeah, well, it wasn't in the interview though. It was before the interview. So I took theater, and as part of our homework, we had to go see 2 Broadway shows I think it was a year or every trimester. I think it was a year, though. And you have to write up a criticism, like as if you were going to value the play. How would you critique it?
Yeah.
And what did you think of it? And it was fun homework, but I think I'm not against Broadway. I'm not itching to go to a Broadway show. I'd rather go see a movie than go to Broadway.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
Would you not?
Shoot, I haven't been to a movie theater in a long time. I'm the kind of guy who, if a movie's coming out, I'll wait for it to hit because on demand. It's no time nowadays.
Man.
You have a problem with that?
What was the last movie you saw in person?
Man, I don't even know. I really don't. Movie theaters are open now, though, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think in a very limited capacity, though.
How about this? My sisters and I went in on a Christmas present a couple years ago where we got my parents Hamilton tickets. And my mom really enjoyed that. And my dad is a former history, government, politics teacher. So they both got a kick out
that's
of
fun.
it. Yeah.
Did you watch Hamilton when it came out on Disney Plus? That's a no. That's a no.
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it.
That's on demand. That fits the EA criteria. It's on demand.
It is.
You don't have to move.
I need shows. We keep on asking these guys what shows they're watching and binge watching and all this stuff. And I had to find a new program because the last one that I was really into was on Showtime. That was
Ray Donovan.
Ray
right?
Donovan. It's done. I heard it's not coming back. I'm quite pissed off.
Wait,
Why?
so
What show should I be watching?
well,
Every time we're on a podcast, I feel like you bring up Peaky Blinders with dudes. And the last guy was
Peaky Blinders
Burials.
is good. Peaky Blinders is a good show. I definitely suggest that.
Yeah.
But I was going to ask you, you asked Pierre, did he cut the cord or is he a cable guy?
I'm still a cable guy.
Yeah, I'm still a cable guy, too.
I'm paying too much money. The problem is I'm a sports guy, so like when I have an opportunity maybe to view something, it's 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. Maybe I'll go to the gym and then you just turn on the tube and just kind of relax just for a little.
Nice.
Just for a little bit. But my thing with apps is I wouldn't know, oh, well, this one has this, but this one has this, that one has that. And it seems like I need the all-encompassing one, you know?
Yeah, so I have cable.
By the way, we're not sponsored by any app out here, so we are
Taking applications. No pun intended.
No. Official Jets podcast powered by AWS.
We're not taking applications. So,
Well, they can get in a segment maybe.
yeah, maybe. You got to hook you up with an all-encompassing app.
Yes.
So I have cable, but then on the TV, there's also Netflix. And through Xbox, you can download Netflix, HBO Go, Disney Plus, Hulu. But I
have
understand
a Roku at home, and don't tell anybody, but I think there's a way I can jump on Netflix. I don't want to divulge how that's all happening.
Okay, wait. So I want to end
Yeah.
the podcast.
Yeah, we got to talk about Pierre Desir.
Oh, I was going to try to
Nobody
profile
cares-
you a show.
Nobody cares about us. What?
I was going to try to profile you a show, like The
Okay.
Sopranos. No, have you seen The Sopranos?
I've seen Sopranos, but I haven't watched it from beginning to end. And you can't say that if you're living in Jersey, so I just did not say that.
Okay, never mind.
Why? Did you see Sopranos?
No,
beginning to end?
yeah, I did. My sophomore year roommate in college was like, "You got to watch this show."
Yeah.
So we watched it. He rewatched it with me, so we watched it beginning to end.
James Gandolfini was a huge Jets fan, and he used to come out to games. And speaking of gentlemen, he was a great guy, and he treated people at this organization so well. And him being at games was just cool because when you thought of the Jets in New York and New Jersey, you thought of Gandolfini. So I mean, that's one guy who is iconic and is always going to, leave an imprint, I think, on this region, and it sucks that he left us far too soon.
One thing about Pierre Desir before we wrap up, kind of like his path to the NFL, his beginning of his Jets career is kind of winding and bumpy as well. He had the hamstring injury that held him out of training camp for a long time, gets the start in week 1, gets benched in week 1, and then in week 2, this is epitome of the NFL. You always got to stay ready because Pierre Desir had an opportunity to pick off Nick Mullins, and he cashed in on it.
And sometimes the ball finds you, and sometimes when the ball finds you, that leads you in another direction. And Desir made a lot of plays on the ball in Indianapolis, especially last season. I think he had 3 picks, but a lot of pass defenses. So hopefully his best play is in front of him. He's not a guy who's going to make excuses, but that's a tough start when you're dealing with a hamstring throughout training camp. He did not have one practice out there where he's participating in team drills. So you would think his best is yet ahead of him. And the Jets are going to need him over the course of these next 13 games because they just played the Colts on Sunday. We're taping prior to that game. And, you know, that game is going to be special for him. He played 3 years there, did most of his damage throughout his professional career as far as his highlights with the Colts. And they let him go in March. And then the Jets signed him a few days later. So obviously it's going to mean a lot. When guys say, oh, it doesn't mean anything to me that I'm going against a team who let them go, that's just not true. It's somebody just fired you from your job. So, yeah, you're going to be somewhat emotional about it. But how can you compartmentalize that and also focus on the task at hand? And this guy's a professional. And I hope Jets fans enjoyed just getting a little sneak peek on who Pierre Desir is, and I'm sure they'll be rooting for him throughout the year.
I feel like Pierre Desir is one of those guys where if you got dinner with him, you just come away like being like, man, that's just a really good dude. And I'm sure he has some great stories from his childhood to his path to the NFL, even just being in the NFL. I mean, he's a veteran now, and to be able to scratch and claw to where he's made it essentially is really telling of who he is as a person.
He's one of 12, 13 guys who were affiliated with this organization who were with the Colts at one point.
That's a whole other story.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
But, yeah, you know, most of these guys all have interesting stories, but his stands out because born in Haiti, coming over here at 4, going to a couple small, very small schools, and then taking not a direct route here in the National Football League. And in high school, he was a former track star, too, by the way.
Pierre Desir is a very interesting person. He could almost be in like the Dos Equis commercial. Most interesting man in the world.
I like it.
All right. And that's how we wrap up here on the official Jets podcast, powered by Amazon Web Services. We'll see you next week.